He twisted to grab again the swinging ice axe that lingered around his waist. The clouds beneath him covered the deathly descent of that icy cliff. The hawkish, disorderly wind had a lugged dust of snow. Its impact banged his fluttering body against the rigid ice. He looked like a bright yellow minuscule in contrast to the magnificent white acclivity around him. Ice helmet and large snow goggles covered a considerable proportion of his face, but they were unable to conceal his fatigue. Tiny studs of beard on his face had turned white with frosted crystals of ice. His frozen lips were unable to move and press the excitement between them. The deadly steep mountain had spoken, but he wasn't obedient enough to recede. He penetrated his foot claw deep into the ice and sunk his curved axe into it. Those seracs looked explosive, burdened with fragile ice. The sky was clouding again, and fresh snow was on its way. The steep bifurcated peak of that mountain was oddly pointed, like the tail of a fish. The striking soft rays of the cloud-sheltered sun illuminated its peak with a golden glow. The surrounding snow dust also shone like golden crystals, making that fascinating peak all the more enticing. He set a stroke on the seracs yet again. The impact ran a rapidly enlarging crack within it to dislodge a large chunk of ice. He fell off the altitude along with the disintegrating ice. His heart sunk in horror. He looked up at the peak. The tiny icy crystals were scattering the sun rays into a rainbow. He fell further into the doom as his eyes watched the interplay of those faultless rays. They swelled to appear like a translucent, colorful pinwheel. He blinked his eyes to see them again. It was a pinwheel. A child sitting on the opposite park bench was rotating his pinwheel against the sun. Rudra rapidly blinked his orb-round, downturned turquoise eyes, which were unique in its color variation. A thin black rim that mingles with the turquoise iris and turns light green just before touching the dark pupil. Those youthful eyes had the color of sun's reflection over the Adriatic Sea and the clarity of a glacial river. The imperial nose he sported complemented his angular cheekbones. A charming depression ran below his cheekbones to vanish before mingling with his sculpted to perfection jawline. He had a light olive skin with golden undertone, dark brown neat hair, crescent brows, and a tall, muscular physique. His exquisite eyes not only had a unique color for his South Asian race, but also possessed atypically enhanced vision. He was able to perceive lights in the electromagnetic spectrum that are outside the range of normal human vision, like infrared and biophotonic emissions. He had a spontaneous ability to perceive aura, which helps him to study intent, emotion, spirituality, power, and even health of an individual. He was blessed with an exceptional IQ. Whenever he is posed with a dilemma, his mind unfolds the analysis in front of his eyes in a high-speed cascade-like fashion. But he was unlike the other geeks who are socially awkward. Instead, he was brilliant both socially as well as emotionally. He quickly diverted his sight and looked around. He wasn't sure how long he had been staring at the pinwheel. He knew it wasn't a dream. He was taking his morning jog, but it also isn't unusual for him to have these involuntary visions every now and then. It all started a few months back that he began to experience frequent psychic visions. Whether he's walking, running, driving, or resting, no matter whatever he did, those visions always chased him down. For that brief moment, everything else disappears, and all he could see is himself cast off somewhere amidst the forlorn heights of Himalayas and the solstice. He is unable to understand why it is happening to him. He thought his brain was mingling the childhood memories from his early monastery life with his unresolved issues, creating a neurological confusion. His perplexity only grew with each passing day, but an obstinate battler within him refused to take down the numbness of those shrink prescribed medicines to his thoughts. Naively, to reconcile his awkwardly state, his phone rang. He took out the phone from his pocket. The phone displayed Gopal. He received the call. The counting has started. Where are you? Aren't you watching the news? We are winning everywhere. The buzz in his gruff voice was evident. He couldn't sleep last night in anticipation of tomorrow's result. The more he tried, the more he was awakened by his exhilaration. He wanted to avoid going out today, but he wasn't able to wait anymore for the counting to start. He came to the park much later than his usual time to subdue his overbearing excitement. Winning? Isn't it quite early to predict that? He rubbed his itchy eyes, which had turned red underneath. No, it's more than 11. Where have you been? Rudra checked his watch. It was 11:14 a.m. He knew how he lost the track of time. Rudra, are you there? Oh, yes. So I asked you, where have you been? I came to the park for jogging. I will reach the office in another 40 minutes. Okay, so the day has finally come. Yes, it's the D-Day, and our efforts will finally be paid off. He thought and ran towards his home. He opened the door, switched on the television, and started to get ready. It's a massive day for Rudra Gautam and the Unified India Party. A huge victory and a clear mandate. India has unequivocally selected its new Prime Minister. He couldn't believe what the news reporter just said. Yes, it is in the news everywhere. Seems like the entire universe is with us on our side. He couldn't wait anymore to meet his dad. He sipped the coffee. It tasted bitter. He left it and rushed to the office. Ah, I can smell the celebrations, he pondered while sitting in his car. The crowd was pouring on the streets nearby. Many policemen were trying to make way for the traffic to pass. A few meters ahead of his office, he could smell the burning crackers and hear noises of workers and supporters chanting Rudra Gautam's and his party's name. Rudra was about to open the car door when the driver turned toward him. Sir, today the whole India is celebrating, and not only me, but my entire village has voted for Chandra, sir. He has won the heart of our nation. Never before have I seen such a huge backing for any leader. Please congratulate him from my side. The driver appeared delighted with the victory. Sure, Mohan, and we too are grateful to you and to every single person of your village who had voted for him. Rudra replied as he was getting out of the car. He ran towards his dad's chamber. Phew, what a rush! Flowers, garlands, sweets, it all seems like I'm crossing a carnival, he thought. Oh, there he is. He managed to get a brief sighting of his father from between the numerous heads and waving hands. Dad, he shouted. His words goes unheard amidst the excitement of crowd. He voiced louder this time. Dad! Rudra Gautam turned swiftly in response. His big brown eyes were looking for his son in the crowd. Rudra waved his hand, and Chandra looked at him with a mystic smile. Chandra generously handled the brigade of supporters and indicated Rudra to wait in his cabin as he slowly sequestered out of the unceasing crowd. Gautam opened his cabin door. Dad, you have done it! An elated son chimed. No, we have done it, my son. Gautam delightedly held his son's shoulder and hugged him. We all followed your instructions, Rudra replied. You were the writer and we merely enacted your script. Seriously, Dad, the world was unaware of such a political knowledge. Today, I believe that even the scum of this dirty politics can be washed with models of pure knowledge and hard work. Rudra, there is so much to change. It is just the tip of the iceberg. The real task begins now, Gautam stated. Come, let's have a cup of tea with your favorite salted cookies. Rudra sipped on his tea. Gautam's overjoyed eyes adored his son, revering his presence in his life like a gratified parent. You know, Rudra, you are a gem. You have worked so hard, and above all else, you believed in me like an ardent follower. You have carried my message to the remotest locations and across the strata of the society. This was a mammoth task, and I can proudly say that I am blessed to have you by my side. Come on, Dad. Now you are embarrassing me. I am what I am today because of you. All that I have learned is from you. Rudra rubbed his palms to spread the heat received by holding the cup. The rubbing gradually halted as his fixed eyes stared at the steam emanating out of the hot tea. A sudden flash of memories crossed his mind as he remembered the day he met Chandra Gautam. He must be 5 years old, as told by Tashibai. Tashibai was the monastery's mother, as she had so much of love and care for every child there. She was an epitome of kindness and love. She must be in her 70s back then. Her crinkled grey eyes were obscured by cataract. Even the cobweb of wrinkles on her face couldn't hide the beautiful soul she possessed. Her face had an amazing bunch of lines, which crisscrossed each other wherever her loose skin sagged. She used to wear a red loose fit cape and a multicolored tiny beaded round cap. That amazing cap was Tashibai's own handicraft. So talented she was. Her grayish black hair was dense for her age. She always tied them in thin multiple braids. I so enjoyed counting them every day, he thought. Whenever Rudra asked her about where and how she found him, she told him an amazing story. In the month of June or July, she went for grazing the goats in the mountains, singing her favorite folk song, a song that sounded like an opera in the valleys of Himalayas. She came looking for her lost goat down the hill and saw a beautiful Rudraksh tree. That tree was so majestic that it was standing alone like a giant warrior between the tall, snow-capped hills. It had a long cylindrical trunk and a blue pyramidal crown. The otherwise evergreen tree had shed almost all its leaves, but hundreds of blue Rudraksh fruits were studded over its branches. The geometrical branches of that blue tree had the shape of a giant pyramid. She heard a faint cry of a baby, so she went ahead to see. She found a 4-month-old baby boy lying in the crevice of land which was cushioned by the fresh leaves of that tree. She took him out of the Mother Earth's womb and named him Rudra. I used to believe her story then. Rudra had a simpering smile on his face. The monastery was picturesque like scenery. Amidst the snow-capped mountains of Himalayas, there was a small town called Nadeli. The monastery was at the heart of this town. The building had 4 separate units pointing at the poles, with a central garden and praying area. The monastery was run by learned monks who knew Vedas right at the back of their head and were accomplished with the art of meditation. They taught Vedas, Sanskrit, yoga, meditation, and techniques of Vedic self-defense to the children. One day, Rudra was playing with a singing bowl, which is a uniquely designed brass bowl to produce a soothing sound. The monastery had one such huge bowl right in front of the meditation hall. Upon hitting the rim of the bowl gently with a wooden rolling pin and then dragging it along its circumference, a calming, vibrating sound is generated. Rudra saw a man coming towards him. Was he fascinated with the calming sound of the ball, or was he eager to know how a little boy was making music out of a simple giant ball? Was something little Rudra wasn't sure of. As he approached further, Rudra found him walking synchronously with the vibrations of the bowl, making his walk slow and elegant. That man was in his mid-30s. He had big brown eyes that had the glitter of gold. His well chiseled face had an unusual combination of sun's charm and calmness of the moon. His centrally parted dark brown hair was waving along the contours of his face, reaching just below his broad shoulders. His light brown and scanty beard was confined to a few millimeters above his jawline and was barely touching his mustache. His face was thin and long. His features were sharp and well carved. He wore a white boat neck kurta with a distinct and big golden locket of a rising sun resting over his sternum. He came to stand right in front of Rudra, and before the little boy's eyes could even reach to his face, he picked him in his arms and said, "Sorry, son, I am late." He took him to the head monk's chamber. "Namaste," he greeted the monk. The head monk, or Guruji as they called him, sat on the ground wearing a red commodious, full sleeved robe that skirted around his knees with red and broad bottoms. This was the attire for all the monks in the monastery. Guruji was sitting in Gyan posture, that is, only his index finger were touching his thumb, while the rest of the palm was straight and resting over his knees facing upward. Guruji replied to him by slightly bending his neck. "Rudra, why don't you go outside and play? We'll call you in sometime," he asked Rudra. Rudra left the room but kept wondering about the man and why he said, "Sorry, I'm late." The stranger came back after 20 minutes, and this time with Guruji. "Rudra, it's time to go home." He sat down on his knees and held Rudra's tiny hands between his fingers and thumb. Rudra looked at Guruji. His big turquoise eyes were open wide. His subtly open lips froze as he didn't know what to say. "Rudra, he is your paternal uncle, and he has come to take you with him to your real home." Guruji's words weren't just enough to sway Rudra's muddle. Rudra gave his neck a quick jerk to stare at that stranger briefly. But I don't think I know him, and I'm pretty sure I haven't met him before," the little boy replied with a straight face. Rudra's naive and brazen response was followed by the gleeful chuckle of that stranger and Guruji. Guruji bent and rubbed Rudra's frontal hair. "Silly boy, you were too young to remember him. He's your uncle. You are in very safe and efficient hands now. Trust me, son, one day you will remember this day as one of the most important days in your life. He will groom you to such an extent that only a few people in this whole world gets the luxury to." "Does that mean I have to leave this monastery?" Rudra questioned. "Right, son, but you know why this makes me happy? Because you will be going to an even better place." Guruji's eyes had a flicker of assurance. "Can I just say goodbye to someone?" Rudra asked to the head above, with taunted brows and filled eyes. "Sure, son," Guruji smiled. Rudra ran to search for Tashibai. He looked at the sun. It was slightly towards the west. He figured that it must be 1:30 p.m. and Tashibai must have finished her lunch and she must be sitting and knitting under the banyan tree. He rushed to find her and reached there almost breathless. Tashibai tried to look through her cataract-stricken eyes. She wasn't sure who was coming towards her in such a hurry. "Tashiba!" His thin voice was broken, was rapid with rapid puffs after running so fast. "I'm going." Her shaky, rough hands were the gentlest ever to touch his cheeks. Going where, Baba? She asked. My uncle has come to take me home. I have to leave this monastery. Rudra's amateurish eyes could no longer hold on to those tears. Oh, Baba, I will miss you. Her pearly eyes were drenched. Many tears rolled down her creased face. She gave him a long, tight hug. Tashiba, don't cry. Guruji said I am in very safe hands. Rudra wiped her tears with his soiled little hands. Ah, Baba, if Guruji said so, then I don't think there is any doubt about it. But I will remember my most beloved son every single day. She kissed his forehead and blessed him to live 1,000 years. Rudra came to Guruji's chamber, where they both were waiting for him, and he finally left the monastery. Chandra Gautam has been everything to him since then. Only a few things have changed now. Chandra's shoulder-long hair is reduced to just an inch long, and his lithe face has acquired the elegance of age, while his energy and agility are still the same. Guruji was right. Rudra had been nurtured in the best hands. Gautam raised him, loved him, protected him, and educated him with some of the unique skills that only a few special ones are blessed to receive. He had a vast knowledge which is not confined to any particular discipline. His poise, his eloquence, his excellent communication skills, and suave personality made an irresistible impact on people who met him or have ever heard him speak. He had an unusually fast speed of thinking that in spite of being a prodigy himself, it was difficult for little Rudra to follow his train of thoughts. Gautam always told Rudra that it is in their DNA, like those few families where brilliance runs in blood. But Rudra knew he had a long way to go. Success is a byproduct of knowledge. This phrase was a spot on for Rudra's dad. Be it microfinancing the small and marginal farmers and helping them with pioneering agricultural techniques, or venturing new setup for poors with his business acumen. From venture philanthropy to addressing some of the most pressing social issues, to even helping a person or a family through their tough times. It was corollary to his good deeds over the years that have left a mark in the people's mind. Ergo, he will be swearing in as the Prime Minister of India in a few days. So, Rudra, why are you so silent? Are those flash visions bothering you again? Gautam's eyes narrowed as he looked at him. No, Dad, he smiled. This time they came with my permission. Gopal entered the room with the whinny squeak of the door hinge, like a metal rubbing against a metal. Gopal was a short man in his late 40s. His straight, silky, and sparse hair was greased neatly to follow the contours of his scalp. It sure needs some greasing. I'll get it fixed today, Gopal murmured. Hi, Rudra, he waved. Chandra sir, total valid votes were 642804257 billion, out of which 53% voted for us, which means around 340686256.21 billion. Rudra and Gautam uttered together. You know, even a calculator takes time because you have to feed the information and all. But apart from you two, aren't these numbers amazing? We will have a majority. Gopal zestfully pulled a chair to sit next to Rudra. Yes, it is amazing. Gautam gave a cup of tea to him. Gopal was Chandra Gautam's close associate who has been working for him for more than 20 years. So now it is time for you to take a break and have some fun, Gautam suggested while dipping a biscotti into the steaming teacup. Rudra had a degree in mathematics and theoretical physics from the University of Oxford. Soon after completing his research on theoretical astrophysics and plasma physics, he moved back to India to assist Chandra Gautam with his political aspirations. Since 5 years, Rudra has been working with him at the grassroots level, helping and understanding the needs of the citizens who lack resources, knowledge, and vision to transform their lives. Who? Me? Rudra asked. Yes, you have been working night and day. Now, when the results are out, and they are way more than what we had expected, you deserve some break from this tedious work and a bonus for your splendid performance. Gautam leaned back on his chair to sip his tea. But, Dad, how can I leave before the swearing in? There is so much work to do. Ruth's word expressed his solicitude. Gautam countered. That will be taken care of. I have planned it all. The swearing in will be 2 days from now. But I don't want you to be there. If you are here, you will take everything in your own hands. What do you mean? You don't want me to see you swearing in as the Prime Minister? A dream for which we all had been working for over these years. He frowned. See, you're too young to waste your precious time bothering about everything around you. Gautam explained. Also, I feel your frequent flash visions are an outcome of the anxiety and stress you have been handling. How will you enjoy your life if you will bother about every little work? I want my old son back. I want you to start living, Rudra. I want you to savor some quality time with your friends and enjoy your solitude, or do whatever you wish, but just take a break from this work and tell me where you want to go. Rudra was lost, somewhere in the abyss of his own thoughts. He knew something was not right with him. He also knew how desperately he wants to correct it for the sake of his own peace. Gautam's advice appeared as a silver lining to come out of that vagueness. I want to walk the place I see, he replied with a pensive face and dreamy eyes. Okay, let's make the arrangement, Gopal. Rudra will leave for Kathmandu tomorrow, Gautam declared.